Hello everyone, my name is Nehal Hemdev and I'll be talking on the topic username enumeration. So we'll be talking about what is username enumeration, types of username enumeration, impacts and prevention, practical, and reference. So what is username enumeration? Username enumeration is a common application vulnerability which occurs when an attacker can determine if the usernames are valid or not. Most commonly, this issue occurs on login forms where an error similar to "the username is invalid" is returned. An attacker can exploit this behavior by using lengthy list of common usernames, known names, and dictionary words to observe the application response to all. With those results, the attacker can then infer which usernames are valid. Now coming to types of username enumeration, the first one is brute forcing passwords. A common threat web developers face is a password guessing attack known as brute force attack. A brute force attack is an attempt to discover a password by systematically trying every possible combination of letters, numbers, and symbols until you discover the one correct combination that works. If your website requires user authentication, you are a good target for a brute force attack. An attacker can always discover a password through a brute force attack, but the downside is that it could take years to find it. Depending on the password's length and complexity, there could be trillions of possible combinations. To speed things up a bit, a brute force attack could start with dictionary words or slightly modified dictionary words because most people will use those rather than a completely random password. These attacks are called dictionary attacks or hybrid brute force attacks. Brute force attacks put user accounts at risk and flood your site with unnecessary traffic. Okay, now coming to the second part, that is credential stuffing. Credential stuffing is a cyber attack in which credentials obtained from a data breach on one service that are used to attempt to log into another unrelated service. For example, an attacker may take a list of usernames and passwords obtained from a breach of a major department store and use the same login credentials to try and log into the site of a national bank. The attacker is hoping that some fraction of those department store customers also have an account at that bank and that they are reuse the same username and passwords for both services. Credential stuffing is a widespread thanks to massive list of breached credentials being traded and sold onto the black market. The proliferation of these lists, combined with advancements in credential stuffing tools that use bots to get around traditional login protections, have made credential stuffing a popular attack vendor. Now coming to third, there is social engineering. Social engineering is a manipulation technique that exploits human error to gain private information access or valuables. In cybercrime, these human hacking scams tend to lure unsuspecting users into exposing data, spreading malware infections, or giving access to restricted systems. Attacks can happen online, in person, and via other interaction. Scams based on social engineering are built around how people think and act. As such, social engineering attacks are especially useful for manipulating a user's behavior. Once an attacker understands what motives a user's actions are, they can deceive and manipulate the user effectively. So now we'll be talking about the impacts of username enumeration. An enumeration attack allows a hacker to check whether a name exists in the database. That will not only allow the hacker to log in immediately, but it gives them half of the necessary information. For example, to set up a brute force attack, rather than searching through login and password pairs, all they need is a matching password for a verified username, saving time and effort. Remember as well that almost every service uses email address as usernames. Therefore, the average user that one login for many websites and not all websites take security equally seriously. News of login and password combination leak is depressingly common. Consolidated collection of data from these leaks are available on hacker message boards. Also, people tend to use the same passwords on different websites, so after making sure that a username exists on your website, an attacker can tap a collection like that to see if passwords for the same user exist on the other sites, and then try to show those passwords. In addition, spear phishing operators often employ enumeration attack during the reconnaissance phase. Having ascertained that their target has an account with your service, they can send an email that appears to come from you, asking the user to change their password and linking to a phishing page that looks like your website. When the unsuspecting customer enters a new password, they also have to confirm the old one and thus provide the scammers with all they need. So now, we'll talk about how you can prevent yourself from enumeration attacks. The first one is two-factor authentication. Alternately, you could require two-factor authentication while the application may still be vulnerable to user enumeration. The malicious actor would have more trouble reaching their end goal of getting valid set of credentials. Even if a malicious actor can generate user lists and correctly guess credentials, the SMS token may become an unbeatable obstacle that forces the malicious actor to seek easier targets. The second one is WAF, that is Web Application Firewall. On the other way to block user enumeration is WAF. To perform user enumeration, the malicious actor needs to submit a lot of different usernames. A legitimate user should probably never not need to send hundreds or thousands of usernames. A good WAF will detect and block a single IP address making many of these requests. Some WAFs will drop these requests entirely. Others will issue a negative response regardless of whether the request is valid. So now we'll be doing the practical, which is on the Postfigure lab. Okay, so now I've gone to the login page and make sure your burp suite is also on. Go to proxy and now just type in a random username first. Now I'll go with Tarun and then password I'll put 12345. Since it's a random password and username, there won't be any account such. And before hitting the login, make sure your proxy is on. Hit login. There you go. It comes an invalid username and password. So you can turn off your proxy. Now when you go to your burp suite, go to HTTP history and here you can see the post login method. Send that to intruder. So as you can see, I tried the username and password here. So clear it first. And now highlight on the username, press add. Now go to payloads and make sure you set the payload at 1 and payload type is simple list. So since we already have a word list for usernames, copy that. Paste it here. And now you can start the attack. Okay, so the attack is finished. So now click on length. As you can see, the username is auction because it has the most request here. So I'll show you on the response. Go to the source code, scroll down. It says your incorrect password. So you can see the username is valid. So to prove that, I would just select a random, like for example, root, go to response and then scroll the source code. Here you can see it shows invalid username. So that means that auction is a correct username. So now you can close this and remove, clear. And in positions, you remove it and type auction and make sure you clear it after that. So here I can type auction. So now it's the same procedure as we use for the username. Now we'll drive the password matches with auction. So you highlight the password, click add, go to payloads and make sure it is set at 1 and simple list. Now copy the word list for the passwords. Paste it, start the attack. Okay, so now the same thing, we go on the length. And here you can see the password that is 1, 2, 1, 2, and 1, 2 again. So you can click on this, go to response. And as you can see, it is found. That means it's a matching password and username. So now you can close it. Now I'll type the password 1, 2, 1, 2, and 1, 2 again. There you see the lab is solved. That means the password and the username was correct through brute force attack. So, so we have done the practical, and here are the reference links. Thank you.